The longest relationship I've ever had lasted for 2 years. I loved her, I really did, but she just didn't fit into my life anymore. I wanted to travel and see the world and have adventures, and she wanted to come home to her warm body every night and needed constant validation. I thought I needed her, but I was wrong. She deserved a better man than me. It had all started off with the best intentions. I had just reached 30 and it was time for responsibility. It was time to be an adult and make real commitments. My 20s were transgressions of youth. All the moving around, career switching, short flame-out relationships, and boxes of unfinished art projects were not a predictor of anything in the future. I was, after all, now a wizened man of 30. I decided to celebrate with something I had always wanted but never been able to fit in my life. I was going to adopt a rescue dog. I knew the dog had to be between 1 and 3 because dogs don't live that long. And the dog needed a good backstory, something people would hear and know what a good person I was. I was going to be the sort of person who looks down on anyone who got their dogs from a breeder and slaps a Who Saved Who bumper sticker on my car next to my magnetic paw print. Yes, I was going to join the dog people. It took 5 weeks of skittish puggles, affectionates, corgis, cockapoos, poodle-doos, and all the other dogs I would fall in love with on Pet Finder, only to be let down at an in-person meeting. The dogs rarely looked like their photos and frequently exaggerated their personality traits. I had gone to see a terrier mix that looked like it belonged in a gown when I spied Sarah in a cage. I asked to meet her and we walked around. She was calm and friendly, more than any dog I had seen. And then I picked her up. She was skin and bone with urine-stained fur. I wondered what people would think if they saw me walking her, as if I had starved her. But in that moment, we sat there, our heartbeats thumping in unison, and we decided that we would become a family. I couldn't figure out what to call her at first. Sarah was also my mother's name, but maybe that would be okay. I was excitedly describing my new dog to her on the phone when she asked about the name. Her name is Sarah, just like yours. You don't name a dog after your own mother! I couldn't come up with a fitting name for her for a few days. Nothing seemed right. I watched No Name Dog turn from this calm creature to a manic ball of energy, chasing her tail around, and wanted something right. My friend suggested the name Doodly, based on this Easter toy that sang Rockin' Robin he was obsessed with. Doodly, I thought. Doodly. It seemed fitting. I liked the ring of it. I'm a strong believer in dog names that give the dog a unique identity. Why'd scream Rover or Fido in a dog park when you can let something that makes people smile? The more I said it, the more I like it. I've always secretly harbored fantasies of my dog being my sidekick in life, so when she bounded from the couch to the floor and in circles, I was relieved. I told her my secret. I was also a manic ball of energy. And it was the start of many adventures, running, hiking, and backpacking. My first year with her was great. She went everywhere with me. I imagine we'd become one of those couples that looks alike. She never tired, and neither did I. We started a dog hiking meetup group and would take other dog owners to various spots in the mountains and desert. Her paws became calloused from the soundstone and impervious to cactuses. We learned how to backpack together. I would joke that we were an indestructible team. It was a codependent relationship, but more on her part. I came up with the term emotional leash of codependence when we were at obedience training at Petco. The trainer would take the dog to the other side of the room and you would try to call it. One of her corgi classmates went up, and while the owners pleaded with it, he sniffed the floor and searched for the perfect tile to pee on. The chihuahua went up next and just yappy barked for 5 minutes. And then she took Doodly up. Doodly thrashed and cried at being abandoned to the strange woman, and before I could mutter the first part of her name, she was racing towards me. I taught her how to sit, stay, roll over, and dance. She would cycle through all her tricks with the delight of friends, and I was proud. When we went hiking, people would chase their breeder dogs, but Doodly would never leave me. She knew what it was like to live on the streets. At night, I would lay there with the dog curled up next to me and think, I didn't know it was possible to love something this much. I knew that I was the only person in the world who could bond with this dog so thoroughly. This dog loved me because I was unique and wonderful and special, and that's what I believed. The first time I left her for an extended period, I'd gone to Central America for 3 weeks. I thought of her daily and didn't want to go, but something inside me had to. My wanderlust was infiltrating my dreams, and I was feeling trapped and confined. When I came back, it took a week before she would sleep next to me instead of at my feet. And things were back to normal, I thought. Except I was really starting to hate my job. I was tired of living in Las Vegas. On my trips abroad, I met Europeans and Australians traveling for months on end on these one-way tickets. That was real freedom. I always had this looming return ticket and would try to cram as many things into a smattering of days as I could, but it was never enough. But that was okay because I had a dog that needed me all the time. I didn't have to go on exotic adventures to places most people just dream about. I had an obligation. And my dog loved me because I was so wonderful. How could I let that go? I made a commitment, a 13 to 15 year commitment. How could I turn my back on that face? A horrible thought started creeping into my head that I couldn't bat away. Maybe, just maybe, if the right situation came along, could I let her go? But who could possibly treat her the same as way I had? I had saved her. I was a hero to this dog. These thoughts of letting her go made me feel guilty, but on the other hand, my life was starting to feel suffocating. And then Billy came into it. He was a friend with an equal enthusiasm for outdoor activities and shenanigans. Billy wasn't working and spent every day hiking. He lived with his sister, who had a Jack Russell named Bella. Bella and Doodly were instant best friends in that dog way where you tackle each other repeatedly until you're almost unconscious, but you're still chewing on each other's heads. When they weren't wrestling, Doodly would climb on top of Bella and pump her imaginary penis into her. And Billy and I would pretend like we were shouting directions on a porn set. You give it to her, Doodly! Who's a dirty bitch, Bella? I soon discovered that Billy and Doodly had something else going on behind my back. I found irrefutable evidence when Billy picked her up to go hiking, and Doodly raced towards him, and this dog, who I had saved and nurtured, did a shocking and unforgivable thing. She had never peed for joy upon seeing me, even when I was gone for 3 weeks. Yet here she was, carelessly throwing out a fountain of urine, the biggest compliment any creature can give. She was losing control of her bladder for this guy who didn't take her to get spayed, who didn't train her, who didn't housebreak her. I did all those things. So why was she peeing for Billy? Things at work kept getting worse. I would mindlessly mumble, I quit, under my breath. I began to resent the dog. She always needed something, and I wanted my life back. I wanted my freedom. I thought about all my friends with dogs and had a dark epiphany. My dog doesn't love me because I'm one in a million. It's because I created this. I bought it. I purchased a shortcut to unconditional love. And she wasn't a shiny new toy anymore. And as much as I willed myself to be a stable person, I couldn't be that one person she needed. But I could never give her up. I had made a commitment. Unless Billy enthusiastically offered to watch Doodly while I went on my 9-month trip to Asia. But the real truth was tacit. I was somewhere in India around the 6-month mark when he asked if he could keep her. I paused for a moment, and over the crackling Skype connection, I agreed it was best for the dog. I imagine most dog owners will be horrified, but I don't feel bad. Billy was a better fit than me, and she's a wonderful life. I honestly believe she never felt abandoned. When I came back, I went to visit him and see Doodly. Her tail wagged, there were doggy kisses, and she was genuinely happy to see me. But then Billy went out, leaving me alone with her, and she started crying. Really? Really, dog? Do you know how much time and money I put into you? Do you know how much I agonized over your stupid name? I fed you chicken and rice by hand when you got you spayed, and they put that stupid lampshade on your head. She actually stopped crying. And we went for a walk. But she was a little anxious. Her owner was gone. I was just some ex from her past.